So we are here, and as promised, I bring you the best of the best at every show we do for stepping into the light. Allyson Roberts, welcome to this series that is here to celebrate the baby you helped me gave birth with.
Yes.
So, Allyson, I was telling you backstage, the goal of that session together is really to inspire all of you watching the replay or listening to the podcast that we all start somewhere. And most of the time, I haven't met someone who told me, yeah, visibility is no problem. I got it from the birth. If you know someone, please send them away. I want to meet that person. And Allyson, you are, for me, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and everything, but I want to say from the get-go, not only you are the person who is my coach, I've been my coach for 2 years, you're behind the TEDx with me, the book, but most importantly, your story is the reason why I got drawn to you, because no matter the story, and it's not about, being in pity or anything, like whatever story we have, and we feel that it's impossible to get out of this and go after our dreams, this is not true. And I keep meeting amazing, successful women day after day, week after week, that are showing me the contrary. And I am proof of it. You are proof of it. I just hired a new fitness coach. She told me that she wants to learn how to say her story because her story is another big one as well. And she's making her dream happen as a fitness coach. So, Allyson Roberts, introduce yourself better than I would do.
Okay, I am the founder of Unapologetic Power. It's a place where we help people overcome their trauma so that they can share their story with the world and make the impact that they were born to make, because I really, truly believe that in the core of my soul, that there's not a person on the planet that was not born to make an impact. And I make that a very safe place to happen by helping you see the power that you hold inside of yourself and really starting to tap in to that power and then place that power into words and share your story. That's how people are going to be drawn to you. And whether it's your business or your personal life, just like Angelique said, she came to me because of my story. And when we were behind the scenes, I was sharing with her, I was sharing with you, Angelique, that, today I am looking to hire a new videographer to do my work. And the very first thing that he said to me was like, you have to fill in the places in your story that I couldn't find online. He's like, I was going to look at your stuff for 5 minutes and I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours, watching all your TikToks and, watching some of your podcasts. So it does matter. It does make a difference and it does matter.
Yes. And so the question we're going to go through, Allyson, is really, you're at that place right now, but I want you to bring us back to the very beginning, if you can remember, whatever visibility means to you, but in the context of building a business and a successful business, can you remember that was a kind of a moment of revelation for you that really sparked the idea that, oh my, I got to be visible?
Yeah. So I love this question because I think that there is a meaning to visibility that a lot of people don't get and understand. It's not just standing on a stage or making a social media post. That is not visible. Anybody can do that. It doesn't matter. You can copy and paste, you can write something. But the big aha moment for me was that I had spoken on a stage in Texas. And I was very performative, very coachy. I had a table out in the lobby for people to come and join my program, and literally not a person. We're talking 200 and I think 84 people in this ballroom at this hotel, and not a single person came to my table. And so there was a woman in the audience that she wasn't my friend, but she was definitely somebody that I looked up to and respected. And the next morning I ran into her and she always has lines out the door at every event that she has. Like people just cannot wait to get to her. Like they have to have her, and here I am. Everybody is like, they couldn't get away from me fast enough. And so I was like, can I just pick your brain over coffee because no one came to my table yesterday? And she was like, at first she was like, I don't know. And then I was like, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Like, I need to be coached. Right. So she and I sat down and she was like, can I just be completely honest with you? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, we don't know you. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm a trauma informed coach. Like I help people. And she's like, exactly. Your job is to rescue people that don't need to be rescued. And it was just like 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 it was just like this big like arrow in my heart. And I was like, okay. And she's like, aren't you speaking tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, just tell us about you. Who are you? And I was like, nobody wants to know that. I was homeless and pregnant, lived in my car. She was like, no, that's like that's it. Like that's the part, Allyson. And I mean, Angelique, when I tell you that I cried, there was snot coming out of my nose. I was trembling. Like 5 minutes before I walked onto that stage, I was a mess. And I remember walking onto the stage and you could visibly, a blind person could see that I had been sobbing, right? And so I said to all the women in the audience, I'm like, I'm getting ready to share a part of my life with all of you that I've never shared publicly. And I feel like it's really important because I'm not just a trauma expert, but I've lived through some pretty severe stuff. And when I shared this story, and I mean, women were like, sitting, and it's not, it's not that you want to be visible so that everybody can fall their head off. That's not what this is about. It was about connection. I was finally making a real non-performative connection with these beautiful women in this audience, and they deserved that. They did not deserve someone coaching at them. They deserved a beautiful connection. And when I stepped off of the stage, I had already taken my table down because it was, my selling like was over and all that. Women were pouring to me afterwards. I want to work with you. I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And so, I walked out of that room signing up, a lot of clients and, coming home and just reflecting on the plane. I was just like, there is something to this. And so, as you know, because you've sat in the chair across from me before and with Laura, if you come into our circle, you're going to tell your story. Even the parts that you're like, nobody wants to hear that. And we're like, no, that's exactly the part that you need to be sharing, because people then see you as a real human you've actually overcome something. And that goes a long, long way.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. And I can just identify, especially with the first work that I've done with you in the first book, where you ask us, find your most vulnerable story and share it with the world. And at first, of course, everybody, at least me and others, like we don't, like some of us don't think we have a story that is worth sharing until you you make it happen, and you value it and you honor it, and you start sharing it, and you see, as you said, that people are connecting. I think it's Brené Brown, right? At the TEDx, you
Yeah.
played that video where she says vulnerability builds connection.
Yes.
And it's not to have the pity or anything from anyone. It's just because I want you to know that I've been through this. I can help you. There is another way. There is a light on the other side, and I can help you get there. And that's, I think, all the stories, and I really invite you to read Allyson's stories in your book, right? What is on Amazon? What is the title again, so that people can just type the title of your book?
Yeah. Do you want me to type it in the chat?
Sure. Yeah, we can put it there.
It'll show up in comments, right?
Or I'll copy and paste it if it doesn't show in the comments. But it's just a beautiful example.
The spiritual journey.
Yeah,
the spiritual journey the part no one talks about.
The spiritual journey. Yeah, I have it here to do, right?
Well, that's the chapter.
It's a green one. I have it here too. Yes, I have all the books.
Yes, here you go. And I'm feeling so inspired. I'm going to change the cover because I've grown so much since I first came up with that cover. I'm going to change.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the story you share on that stage that you described. Kind of. That's the first time you started to it comes out of your mouth.
Yes, because see, shame doesn't want us to share. Shame tells us no one's going to want to hear that story, and you're just seeking pity, and you just want people to feel sorry for you, and wow, you're going to make money off your story, really? Like, that's disgusting. Like, shame will just come in and just really try and just destroy you and pick you apart. And that's why shame hates silence. So the minute that you start speaking and sharing, there's no place for shame to go. Shame's like, well, I'm just going to go sit over here in the corner and pout for a little while. And, I had post-shame from that day, which I think this is why a lot of people, will be visible, right? If they have like a program they want to sell, or like a book they're promoting, or even speaking on stage, they'll come out and be really, really, really visible. And then all of a sudden it's like they'll have post shame. I can't believe you shared that. I can't believe that you did that. And that's why we see a lot of people come out, go away, come out, go away. It's because they don't know how to deal and manage that post shame that comes from sharing vulnerably.
Yeah. And this is where, like we talk a lot about, it's never about you. It's always about the journey of that other person, because any judgment is self-judgment. So yes. It's being ready to welcome it in a way from that place of love, right? I love that you mentioned that, because I know it's coming my way at some point as well, since the book, and it's not about me. It's about okay, well, not everybody's ready to receive the story. That's what it is. And it doesn't mean that it's good or bad, or that you're not good enough or anything. It's just, it lands differently to different people. But when people are ready, this is where the ripple effects is huge. Am I hearing an echo?
I'm not hearing one.
Okay. Maybe Audra, you're with us. I see the comments. If you see.
Oh, hey, Audra.
And we have a beautiful comment from Audra. She says, "Thank you for both being so brave and vulnerable."
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. It's my pleasure.
So the second question for you, Allyson. So you had that revelation on that stage, but how do you go from, okay, I've done it once, to make it kind of a habit of always infusing your story, or becoming more and more visible in the day-to-day visibility work?
I hired a coach. I mean, I had to. So that is when I hired Lisa Nichols, actually. And, she used to run a program. I don't think she runs it anymore, but it was called Speak and Write Your Worth, or something like that. And so I joined. It was an online program. It was not like her big program, but it was just enough to learn how to effectively tell my story. Even though I already knew how, I think that having a structure and a plan is really super important. And I did not have a structure nor a plan. So I gathered that from her. And then I think the other thing that really helped me come up with like how to share my story, and really, putting myself out there, was changing how I showed up in person at events. Um, I tore up my speaker sheet. I came up with whole new keynotes. I made sure that they were all based in vulnerability and sharing from a deeper place and connecting them to healing and all of those things, because I feel like your message has to be congruent across all the lines too. You don't have to say the same thing, but at least, but somebody on Instagram needs to know what you're doing on Facebook, and a person on Facebook needs to know what you're doing on LinkedIn. Like, it needs to all be
Yeah.
together, and that's something that I didn't have until I hired her.
And then, so what would you say to something I hear a lot, like how to take action imperfectly? Like, yes, you hired a coach, you want the structure, the strategy, but it's still probably something that felt not quite exactly what you wanted. Or like a lot of women tell me that it's not good enough, or it's not like, I want this to be like exactly hit the spot. So how do you play with imperfection or perfectionism or imperfectionism?
This is so interesting. I was just talking about this earlier today. So the need to have our social media like perfect and be quote unquote good enough is a reflection of us not being enough on the inside. And so we're like, if our social media is perfect, then I'll be, not perfect, but close enough. If my social media is, beautiful, then it's a reflection on me, and it's actually the other way around. So, if you're striving and it has to be perfect, then what's going to happen is that you're not going to show up publicly like angry, frustrated, and all the things, but I can kind of sense in people's socials like when they're trying to be perfect and when they're trying to show up a certain way, like being performative, like on videos and all of that, as opposed to like you, right? You just come on sweaty, hair in a ponytail, just getting off your bicycle with some profound message for all of us. And it, you know, you may not think that you look perfect, but to me, it's perfect. Like, it's beautiful, it's real. Um, you pull me in, you draw me in. And I try to do the same thing with my social media, is not have to look like an actress, or that I have to be put together all the time. So for the person that's listening, that's like, I can't do that because it's not good enough or it's not perfect, I would just say have a lot of like grace with yourself and compassion and love, and slow down and breathe and focus more on how you want the one person who's going to read your social media post. How do you want that one person to feel? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to have an aha moment? Do you want them to feel angry? Like, what do you want them to feel? And then work it from that angle, and only that angle. Don't make it about you. Make it about the person who's reading your post or listening to your live stream or whatever the thing may be.
Yeah, I'm sinking in. I love it. Allyson, based on your experience with visibility online, what was maybe a top 2 or 3 strategies that really propelled your connection with your audience and your revenue, that you could say, well, because I have that digital footprint, I can really attribute this to my growth and my revenue?
I would say that in the beginning of my social media experience, it was going live. I went live so much. Um, and sometimes I would go live and just talk about like the coffee I was drinking, and how I drank coffee as a little girl with my mom, hoping that we were going to have some kind of connection, even though I hated coffee. Like I just tried to tie like normal, everyday things that I was doing into how it showed up in my childhood around trauma, so that people could start to see like, wow, no, I, I wonder if I do that. Like, I wonder if I'm people pleasing and all of that. And then I would go live for like 5 days, and then on the sixth day, I would have like ask me anything. But the only requirement is they had to watch my previous lives. And so, the first, I don't know, I would say 27 lives that I did. I don't think one person watched any of them. I'm pretty sure it was zero. Um, and so what I did was I started reposting them with copy that went along with the video. So, because people change, like 10 years ago, no one wanted to watch video, everyone wanted to read. Now everybody wants to watch videos and nobody wants to read, right? So we have to go with the trends and we have to go with the audience, right? So when I started like posting things, and I would say, my aha to myself in this live, and you'll see me go at minute, 7 and 12 seconds was crazy. Like, go watch it, and then that started having people like go and watch my videos. I would be like, you need to go, just fast forward. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Just fast forward to the 9th minute and the 12th second, and tell me what you thought about what I said. And so, like, it kind of turned into a contest where people would go in and then like reply on my comments and be like, holy crap, I didn't know like all this stuff, right? So that was the beginning, was going live. And then when it didn't work, just pivoting and trying something new. And if that hadn't worked, I would have pivoted and tried something else. But that's what worked for me.
I love this, Allyson. I want to point out something that is so, so good in when you say everything is good, but the part that you say, talk to your audience and tell them to do this and this and that, like, hey, look, I did that. Look at my beautiful sandcastle on the beach, right? And then you want people to go and take photos, and because it's inspiring for them. And so, like, it's believing in your content.
Yes.
And I love this. And not being worried about repeating yourself and showing again the video and repurposing the video. I love this because this is what it is. Like, plus now, you say it was at the beginning, now the frequency that people have to see your face before they do anything is even higher. When I started, I think 10 years ago, it was like 7 times before someone would do something with your content. Now I think it's between 21 and 35 times. You can repeat. You can show people, go there. Because that's our world right now. But I love that you give those examples. And you never mention that you never made it mean something about your content or about who you are. Like, you're like, okay, they're not watching this, I'm going to show them the way to watch it again. Like,
And I mean, I cried, I'm not going to lie. I had my little crying moments where I'm like, nobody loves me. Everybody, I'm just, but I wanted, I think this is the golden nugget of the whole thing. I wanted to build visibility online. I wanted to. And so I was willing to do whatever it took to do it, and I know that people are gonna think that this is crazy, but there was a time when I had 8,000 friends on Facebook, and I ran this big promotion, and no one acted on it, and so I got rid of that Facebook page and I started all over again. And my coach was like, "Are you out of your freaking mind? Like, what are you doing? And it's just like, they're not real followers, you know? And the next big launch that I did, I only had like maybe 700 friends at the time on Facebook, but my program I sold every seat that I wanted to sell in the program because they were engaged, and that's when I was doing it was my new audience that I was doing those lives, and I was going back and saying, like, watch this and do that. And those people would say, you've got to go to Allyson Roberts, page. You've got to start watching this chick. Like, send her a friend request, and they would say, Lisa sent a friend, told me to friend you because I want to see these live videos that you're doing and all this stuff. And it just started just growing and growing and growing. And so, I have 4,000 something followers on Facebook now. I have 31,000 on YouTube, which is insane to me. But the way that I got the 31,000 followers on YouTube is telling stories. That's how, true stories from my life.
Yeah. And it's so foreign to you before you start doing this. It's so out of, it's not even, you don't even if you try until you experience it and you see what's happening on the other side and the impact on people, this is where you're like, okay. And then you go a little more. But
it's like skinny dipping.
Yes.
It feels like skinny dipping. It does.
Yeah.
You're naked. No one can really see you when you're in the water, right? They don't see your body when you're in the water. But when you get out of the water, clearly you don't have any clothes on. And that's what it felt like to me. I felt so naked.
Yeah.
So naked.
Totally. It's worth it. I'm going to share some comments we have here that are amazing. Michelle, hello. She said, thank you
Michelle,
for being an example of how to show up and be visible and authentic. Well, Michelle, thank you. And I can say that you are a great example as well. Like, I've met, 3 years ago? And
she shows up.
Yes.
So does Audra. Audra shows up too.
Yeah, and then we have Lucinda. Hello. Hey, who says, love this. And then Brenda. And
hi,
this
Brenda.
Is where I get hung up. So I guess it was reacting to something we were talking about. Maybe the perfection. We were talking about being imperfect. Maybe that was what you meant. We all go through this. It's just a protective mechanism, right? When you're busy getting perfect, you don't do anything. So your mind wins and your dream lose. That's one of the line of my TEDx. And Audra, we say hi already to Audra. Okay, I just want to make sure we don't forget anybody here. Oh, Brenda, what are you saying? You say perfection
paralysis. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I don't think there's a person on the planet that doesn't suffer from that. Every time I go to up level, right? Because I was actually sharing with Audra earlier today that, the universe is really pulling on me to start sharing a part of my life that I have not shared. And you can see me getting emotional. But it's just like, I think it's good for Brenda to see this, that, you can get emotional and still feel really inspired to share something, and my brain is like, I don't know how to share this, and I don't know where to start. And, it's going to be too hard. And I can't, like, I'm going through my own up level right now about visibility and sharing, because I know that there's a huge need in the community for what it is that I want to share. And so I would say that anyone who is suffering from perfection paralysis, lean into your mission. Make your mission so big and so profound that there's absolutely no way to say no to it. Like, you have to You have to do it. That you know that you were born to do it. I mean, that's where you have to go with that.
Yes. And I want to jump on this to, I interview you, you're my guest, but you're still my coach here. And you are one of the person who believed in my mission like nobody else before. And, it's not only yourself believing in your mission, but when others are reflecting to you the importance of your mission. That's where it's really important to have a community around you that can, on the days that you don't feel that your mission is big enough to show up imperfect, there is someone saying, hey, girl, the world needs you today, not in
And
10
just do it messy.
Yeah.
Just do it messy. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love this. Okay. Next question. Overcoming visibility blockades. You kind of addressed it because of what you're going through right now, but what were the biggest blockades to your visibility? Once you went on that stage, you did your first story. Like, so how do you kind of amplify that, layer after layer? Like right now, you're about to share a new story we haven't heard. So how, can you bring us in how you, I know you mentioned your mind and how you do it, but what are the things number one, how do you recognize that it's time for a new story? What happens that makes you say, okay, I'm ready to go next level with my visibility?
Well, the answer to that question is that inspiration is unquestionable. Like inspired action, it doesn't feel like work. We may resist it because we're scared, but I mean, it's like having an anchor lodged in your chest and there's just a rope that's pulling you. And like you want to say no to it sometimes, but you can't. Like you just feel like you just can't say no. And so, some of the things that I ran into that were like blockages that I had to overcome, I think that was your question.
Yeah.
Was honestly my family. My family was the biggest hurdle that I had to cross, because when I started sharing that I had been homeless and I placed a child for adoption, and just my homelessness was a reflection on all of them. And they didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to talk about it. And so, when I started to, write my book and I had a publicist and an editor, she was like, this is your story to tell. I mean, as long as you're telling the truth and you're not like slandering them, this is your story to tell. But I had already been sharing it like on stages all over the world, both in person and, on Zoom. And I started sharing it, on social media and all these things. And my family, the backlash was harsh. It was, who do you think you are? And I can't believe that you're sharing these stories about us. And, you're making us look so horrible, even though I wasn't saying their name. I wasn't doing any of that, but they all took it very, very personally. And so what I have to say about that is, we don't want to like throw our families away and just be like, screw you, I'm gonna share whatever I want. But at the same time, you have to come to a place in your heart where, again, it's like your mission is bigger than any conflict or anything that you're dealing with, any obstacle that you're facing. So ultimately, what I told my family was, when I was homeless, you didn't put up a wanted poster. You didn't call police departments. You didn't come looking for me. I mean, I can't imagine not knowing where Laura is for 7 months. I can't. I mean, like, I would lose my mind not knowing where my daughter was for 7 months. I would lose it. But my family just carried on. And I was like, and that is your truth. Like, that is what you all chose to do, was just to carry on with your lives, even though you had no idea if I was dead, alive, in a gutter somewhere, like you had no idea where I was. So it's just letting people live in their truth, even if you have to point it out to them, while you're also simultaneously living in your truth. Just don't let it be an obstacle.
This is massive what you're sharing here, because you know what? That's something I hear a lot, that what other things, but the close people, and it's a barrier. So it's beautiful that you share this. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Yeah, I'm processing what you just said. Wow. Michelle is saying something. Allyson Roberts' TEDx talk was bold and raw, and she addressed the elephant in the room. Yes. So that's another research you can do on the TEDx YouTube channel, Allyson Roberts. That was, yeah, massive. Yeah. So
Thank you,
I think
Michelle.
everybody understood that when you hang out with Allyson Roberts, you don't hide.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I mean, and this is also a reflection right back on Michelle, because the very first time that she spoke on stage, she was also bold and raw and addressed the elephant in the room as well. And she had everyone, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. She had everyone captivated. So yes, I mean, being bold and raw it opens doors that are invisible right now. That's what visibility does. Visibility makes the invisible visible, not just us, but our opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just what we're sharing, what you're sharing tonight, I cannot just wait to hear someone's going to do something today that they've never thought they could be doing.
I hope so.
I am sure. Like, it's so powerful. We cannot keep our voice for ourselves, especially if we say that we want to be the woman we want to be in the world and impact the people we want to impact. You cannot do that silently or being quiet. You have to share it. No, you don't even have to use social media. You can do it on other ways, but you have to share and share and share.
And I want to say this too, like I have shared my story of being homeless and pregnant and living in my car, I don't know, to 5,000 times. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. And I just want to say that one of the obstacles that I had to overcome in that was believing that people were getting tired of hearing the story from me. Like, here we go again. She's going to talk, she's going to talk about being homeless and pregnant and living in a car. Oh my God. I mean, that was just, I was doing that to myself. And it was actually when I was used to hold my behind the power events, and I remember the very first year I said it from the stage, and somebody that was in the audience has been following me for like 15 years. And she came up to me during the break and she grabbed my hands and she was like, I could hear your story 100 times and I get something different out of it, like every single time that I hear your story, because I'm a different person every time I hear your story. Really, like, that piece of information was so pivotal to me, because I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to share it and share it and share it and share it, and I'll probably be sharing it for the next like 25 or 30 years because it helps people.
And before we go to the last question, I just want to invite all of you watching and the replayers, what story would scare you enough to share whenever you're ready? Because that's a question you asked me last year with the first book. And for me, my experience was a total blank, no idea. And at the time, I didn't know I would write a book, right? We were talking about a chapter, no
Right.
idea. So I would invite you to kind of be open and willing to kind of just start browsing what story, maybe when you walk, we're in nature, it will land on you like a feather. And maybe it's going to say, this is a story your people needs to hear to get moving.
Or it
And be
might
open.
land on you like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, as well.
Serious. Because like Michelle's watching this right now, like I've worked with her in the past too to write chapters, and you know, her very first chapter, you know, I was like, just write the story that, you know, no one will ever read or hear from you or whatever. And she read the story, and it was her chapter, and it's become a big mission of hers. And so, but it landed on her like a wrecking ball. I mean, she was like, I am not sharing this
This.
story. I'm not doing it. But you know, God just had a bigger plan for her, just a bigger calling on her heart and her life. And I think that we have callings that we don't know that we have because we hide from ourselves. And so sharing our stories is a way to stop hiding from ourselves so that we can see the possibilities in front of us.
Yes. And yes. And yes to this. Yes. So true. Oh, I see a message here. Brenda, what are you saying? Yes, sharing my complete story will be hard for some of my family and consequently me, but it will help me more and definitely others and maybe even some family members getting there. Thank you for sharing all of this, Brenda.
Yeah, Brenda, thank you. And you know, Brenda, what I want to say is start writing. Just write it for you. Don't write it for the world. Don't write it for anyone else. Just start writing, because that is how you get there. You get there by writing it, and because it becomes less scary when it's on the paper in front of you, and it's like, I didn't die. The houses around me didn't burn down, and you know, lightning didn't strike me. I wrote this, and I survived. Like, and you actually feel a little bit freer too, just to get it out.
Amazing advice. And Michelle says, and it just dawned on me, I can continue to share the story and not worry about what other things.
Yes, yes, Michelle. Please share.
Awesome. Oh, Brenda says, I
I
already
already
have.
have. Beautiful. I love
Awesome.
it. I love it. That's so great.
So we could talk about this all night, I
We
know.
could.
But knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your past self, Allyson, at the beginning of your visibility journey? Because you are a rock star. I want all of you to check out Allyson. She is a big deal. We are all a big deal, but you are a big deal plus, because you have shown up in a way that now is paying, like magnifying your power and your influence and your impact. So check out Allyson. But what would you say to your past self now that you know all the things that you know?
Like what age? Like where do you want me to go?
I'll let you lead. Where does it take you? When do you think you started to have that fire in you? And even if you didn't know exactly how you would use it.
When I was 5. Oh, Angelique, you're gonna make me cry.
Great.
I know it's your specialty. I think what I would say to her, is that, um, that what she's living in, what she's experiencing, um, is the whole reason that, um, that she's going to grow up and help people heal. I would tell her, it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse, but you're going to survive. And not only are you going to survive, but you're going to take, um, your beautiful heart with all of your love and compassion, and you're going to pour that into people so that they can know that they're worthy to.
I have shivers all over. Allyson, wow.
Yeah.
And you are so that. Gosh.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I think,
You know,
yeah, I feel her receiving that now, you know?
yeah, this week you had a series, or last week, about, what it is to be a coach.
Yeah.
Um,
I got some
and
backlash. I got some backlash in the background for that.
yeah,
Some
I'm
coaches
sure.
reaching out to me saying, "Stop bashing the coaching industry." And I'm like, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know which one of the posts, but and I really don't want to say it publicly because it's my chance I get you on my channels, that you are more than a coach. You're a piece of our souls.
Thank you. But when I read that the other day, I was just, I was like, I receive it. I receive it so much. I do.
Yes, and maybe that's part of being a coach, when you get so, supportive, and you don't just drop everybody in the middle. You like, because you never know how, when you guide someone, how much time they may need, to discover that big thing that they discover, and now they're ready to go to the next level. And you have that capacity with us to really adapt your pace, because you have a fast pace. You've been at this transformational work for a long time, right? I feel like I am a baby, like 5 to 6 years in, like really consciously, like so we're like, that's what it does.
Well, but I also, I've been told that I meet people where they are.
Totally.
And I do believe it very much. I mean, that is like one of my big goals, is to meet people where they are. It's just that if you're hurting, we're not going to stay there. If I meet you where you are and you're suffering, my job is to stop the suffering, is to help you stop the suffering. I'm not going to stop it. You're going to stop it. But my job is to say, like, listen, I get it. We're at mile 1, but I'm going to get you to mile 5, and your life is going to feel, even mile 2, your life is going to feel completely different, and it's just my passion to do that. It's just what I love. I love to do it.
Yeah, so happy that you are here for this. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Allyson. Anything
Thank
else you
you.
want to wrap up with? Stepping into the light, and all the beautiful people who are here and will be here later, and listening to the podcast. Where can we learn more from you?
Yeah, so please go to my website. There is a gift. It is a meditation to really help you begin kind of the work of overcoming your shame, and really, reclaiming your power. But the other reason I want you to get the meditation is that you'll be on my mailing list. And no, I'm not going to send you 9 million emails, but I am going to invite you to Painless Pivots to Power, because we are bringing it back. It's happening August 7th, 8th, and 9th, and it's all new material. I'm so excited. So please, and it's free. So go and get the meditation so that you can be on the email list, so that you can get the invite and come and be with me for 3 days.
Oh my God, this is where
It's online.
we connected beyond, like, so we knew each other from another program, but when you first invited me to work with you, was after that 3 days. I remember it was so powerful. So powerful. I was
Yes,
in my
I'm so
car.
excited. It's even better. It's even better because I've grown and changed, and so it's so much better.
Okay, so I put the link to your website in the different comments, and I'll mention it as well in the podcast description, so that you can join Allyson and you can connect with her anywhere. Thank you, Allyson, so
Thank
much
you.
for giving so much. Oh, thank you. Gosh. Thank you to everybody for the comments. We love that to
Yes,
see
thank you for being
you.
here.
Yes. Okay. Ciao, ciao.